Okay. So today I want to show you how to use the dip pen and the ink to practice drawing. This is like similar to pencil drawing, but there is a certain no turning back, almost fatalistic idea that you start when you draw with pen. But as much as it feels that that's going to be a limitation, it turns out to be liberation. When you know that you whatever you do, you cannot take it back, you tend to go ahead with a lot more confidence. And at the end of it, you realize somehow your lines are better with that kind of devil may care attitude versus the very careful attitude that we have when we are working with pencil. I have no explanation for this, but I found that almost 100% of the students are completely shocked by the output they have of working with ink. So, today we will do something that's called gestural art, but I mean, it's like a fake gestural art because we are doing it with photographs. Gestural art is something that you actually do watching that subject live. So, say for example, you have a pet in the house. While the pet is moving about, you draw a quick sketch within seconds of whatever it looks like. So, there's something about observing maybe a cat or a dog and just isolating a movement, and you see the back and tail or legs or whatever, you keep that in your mind just like a quick freeze frame and translate that on paper. That is what gestural drawing means. And you can do a lot of this in public where there's lots of people, like sitting at a mall or something. Just see people walk by, quickly make a sketch of the last thing you have in your mind. But we'll need some kind of practice for for that to come very easily. That's why we will do uh, today's exercise where we are going to make lines very fluidly and fill in some details very almost like in a motion. It's not so much thinking as much as seeing and doing. All right. So I'm going to demonstrate a little bit first so that you know exactly what I'm talking about, and then we can all start doing one after the other. Now, in this particular exercise, I'm not going to break this down into proportions like I normally do. So, how many times of the head is the body and all of that, which angle to take, none of that. We don't want to get into that kind of detailed time spent in understanding our subject. So, what I want you to do is keep your reference image in front of the screen or on a device next to your book, and I want you to only focus on that part, the reference image, and your drawing. So you have to keep moving your hand looking at the reference image. Then also try looking more at the reference image as your hand is still moving. This is something that we're very unused to. You look at something, remember it, then come back, look at your drawing, and draw it. But how about your hand moving while you're looking at your reference image only? Try to do that as well. So we'll do all of these things little by little. I'm going to first show you how to draw one of these images in ink. So this is one picture of an owl flying and sitting down. So I'm going to, what I see is an overall shape. I'm going to scribble this shape, make a few lines to indicate feathers, a little bit of shadow here and there, and then do some textural work. So I'm going to do this for you first. I'll show it to you, and then I'm going to give you time to do it yourselves. Now, if you haven't worked with ink, with your ink for maybe a day or so, do add a little bit of water so that it remains liquefied. Just a drop or two is usually enough. Okay. Now I'm going to fill up this whole page, at least all of us are going to fill up this whole page with all the different pictures of the owls. All right. So we don't want to make one large picture anywhere. Okay, would you like to observe? Don't draw with me, just observe how my hand moves and what parts I am drawing. And look at the casual line making. I'm going to say just avoid making any zigzag lines. Make lines which are like fences next to each other. If there are lines that don't look accurate, correct them as you go. I want you to be able to move your hand with ease eventually, and that will happen. So, this is my first sketch, and you can see how scribbly it is looking. Now, to this, I will add some details. Now that I have a general shape for my owl, I can add more details to this and make it look more impressive, more owl-like. And also fill in shadows in the right place so that it can start looking more three-dimensional. So the idea is to first create the scribble and then start filling it with certain details and change that scribble into something more believable, more realistic. So the second part you can spend more time. The first part you should get done quickly. So I'm combining a little bit of what is traditionally gestural drawing with a more detailed drawing exercise. Now, what textures you want to use for shading, I'll leave that to you. I usually just use lines, so that is hatching. Sometimes the hatching looks like a shadow, sometimes it looks like a texture. And you will notice that the more detail you start furnishing, all the lines that were used for sketching get absorbed so easily that they don't look like there was any. I mean, you don't even see them, they become easy to ignore. For something like the feathers, don't bother with magnifying the picture. Just draw them as you see them at the scale that is presented to you. Now notice how I'm holding my pen really far. I'm not drawing like this. My pen is moving almost in like a solid form, and my fingers are pretty steady. So my full forearm is doing this drawing. Keeping your forearm free to draw allows you to make really long span lines very easily. The direction of your lines is also very important. Depending upon how you see those feathers, try to go in both directions and figure out where you get that nice taper to the line. Sometimes you get it at the start of the line, sometimes you get it at the end of the line. Those little things really make a difference. And then in the appropriate place, you can put these shadows as I see them. We are only going to be able to make a black and white drawing, and some parts of that black and white drawing will look gray because we have fewer or thinner black lines. That's about it. That's the illusion. Okay, while I continue this, you can also start now.
You doing the same now?
Miss,
You can do the same one first.
Miss, my mom isn't added to the adults group. I can't see the picture of PL.
Oh, is it? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me share it with you. Give me a second.
Yeah.
All right, I've sent it now. Okay, let's take another 5 minutes to finish this owl, and then we'll move to the next one. I just want to ensure that you're not spending too much time. We're not trying to make the perfect illustration. This is only going to be like a sketchy understanding of what the subject is all about. À l'hiver du mécontentement, à finir seul et sans escorte sur un banc. Mais va-t'en, puisque tu le veux, puisqu'on n'a rien pour être heureux, que le jardin, les feuilles mortes, simplement. Mais va-t'en, puisque tu le veux. So what I would like you to do is have multiple lines and a lot of freedom in your lines. Va-t'en si tu préfères prendre ton temps. Épargne-moi tes boniments. Tu verras que par la suite, simplement, va-t'en si tu préfères prendre du bon temps. Contre marée et contre vent, c'est moi qui prendrai la fuite. Au printemps. Mais va-t'en, puisque tu le veux, puisqu'on n'a rien pour être heureux, que le jardin lui feuille morte, simplement. Mais va-t'en, puisque tu le veux, épargne-moi les larmes aux yeux, va-t'en, ne claque pas la porte, simplement. Shall we try the next one? Okay, let's do this one before this. So here we have some beautiful texture of the feathers on the body, the shoulder, as well as the tips. And this one we are going to watercolor as well. Okay, so just a little bit of color, but definitely throw in some watercolor. So if any of you is working with a non-waterproof ink for whatever reason, make sure that your drawing then is made with either a waterproof ink or a micron pen. Even a ball pen is fine as long as you can apply water afterwards. Okay, Now this time I'm going to start from the shoulder. And because we are going to put water in this, we don't really have to, we can avoid making these extra lines. But still, the lines that you make should be a little sketchy. So observe how the lines of the wings are radiating slightly outward towards the tip. And make all the borders in the shape of the feathers that you see them, instead of drawing a line across those. That way you can sketch and also detail with the same strokes. You don't have to then ignore, I drew a straight line across the feathers here. That one I would probably have to cover up. In this case, I'm not drawing that straight line at all. And at the shoulder, it is a straight line, so that still works. But everywhere else, I'm drawing the separating textural lines with lines which look like that texture. So this is one way of going about it. That way I can focus on the one part of the bird that I really would like to draw more attention to. But for many people, I think the idea of starting from the head is a little more appealing. So please feel free to go ahead with that. Wherever you have white feathers, avoid making any line. And now when you come to the face, don't look at it as a face, because that's something that can throw you for a loop. Draw this inverted V shape and then just draw the feathers like this, feathers of the face. That's all we see, that's all we draw. And then the cavity where the eye should be, and that is also demarcated with just these lines. So in this case, all our lines are basically a textural fence like this. And as far as the claw is concerned, bird claws are really like dragon feet. So you can make the lines very scrabbly like that. So going forward, this is a practice that you should start inculcating almost on a daily basis, and if not daily, at least once a week. Pull out your inks and draw with them. For some reason, your drawing ability will improve by leaps and bounds when you use ink. And then once in a while, you can change the ink, use a sepia ink instead of a black, or just even a blue ink is fine. There are a few dark patches on the feathers. I'm just making that with ink itself to enhance the wingtips. and in other places there are dots, especially on the yellow colored, the golden feathers. I'm deliberately not making them too precise and too pretty. They have to look a little messy because that is how the medium is. We won't really enjoy the medium unless we make some lines very casually. Okay, once this is done, let's bring our watercolors. If you mix the colors right, your ink should dry within 2-3 minutes. If the ink is not drying in that time, it's possible that environmental humidity is high. Like if you're in Bombay or Thane, or I suppose even in KL, it might be really humid. So give it a minute or two, check that it is fully dried before you start painting. So I'm using a medium and a large brush, not very small brushes. And we are literally just going to slap some paint over here. So create the shades that you see and a close approximation, and then just very loosely apply the colors, and they can also flow into each other wet on wet. So I'm mixing a little bit of gamboge. It seems like such a long time since we've used color. A little bit of orange and maybe a little bit of burnt sienna as the red notes. So these are all our yellow parts, and then I'm going to use some of these ready grays that I have. I don't even remember what this is. It's possibly some blue, some um, raw umber, and whatever. And then there's a black and blue here. I'm just gonna put these colors in. Remember that painting, a painting like this, we are not really doing a color study, so we can enjoy colors being a little dramatic. And the whole point of watercolor is to get this whole flow. Some brush strokes are visible. So paintings like these are less about accuracy and more for the joy of the colors that we involve in the painting. Again, my paintbrush I'm holding really far. Just keep a rag handy. These colors are all complementary colors, so they might react to each other quite sharply. So keep a rag handy so you can keep the colors fresh. You can also add some shadows in the whites, like just by the face. The shadows again are indicative, so you can make a blue colored shadow also.
To see the world, there's such a lot of world to see. Where after the same rains and waiting round the bend.
As far as possible, I try to avoid blacks. So I will deepen some colors using a cobalt blue or an ultramarine blue. And you'll notice that our brushes are made in such a way that they work very well for drawing feathers. So if you've got a nice sharp brush, you can literally just position it in the right manner and its tips will start making your feathers, the feather texture, just by the sheer nature of their shape. Now once this is done, you can maybe, I don't want to put any color on the tree bark, but I do want to make it more visible, more dense. So I can create a texture. So don't color anything, but use lines. You've done this in the previous class, no, the class before that. And once the color has dried, you can add depth. So in some cases, try doing this. Press your ink pen down. You'll get a nice thick line. How's everyone doing?
Yeah, good.
Good, no questions, no panic, nothing. Good.
Feeling good. Doing it.
That's great. Good, good. Okay, again, I'm going to give you another 5 minutes, and after that, I'll move on to one of the close ups. Let me know if you want me to wait for you a little more. I can do that. I'm just assuming that you all are carrying out on your own.
I think with the first picture with I did, I still could feel, the struggle I always have with the words. My lines,
Ah,
they're not like unpredictable. They still try to be predictable, and I could feel that. But I think once I reach the higher feather, at least I can bring some unpredictability. So I could feel that difference when I was doing that.
oh, that's interesting. Good. Do you want, if you're finished with this, you can start the next one. I will start it in a bit after others. Take one of the close ups, the one that's looking to the left. Let me share the image so you know which one I'm talking about. I can now not tell whether this is a photograph or an illustration or AI generated, but it doesn't matter. We just need to study different textures, and this will do. See, it just looks too precise, too pristine. The strokes are so sharp. Anyway, this is the one that we will do. Okay, so if you're done with the painted out, then you can start making this one, and try to fill more pen texture this time. Obviously, there's no color in this, so different types of textures, like try cross hatching over here, or try making hatching but or contour strokes over here to get that. This is going to be a little more dramatic.
Hold me close and hold me fast. The magic spell you cast. This is love beyond. When you kiss me, heaven sighs. And though I close my eyes, I see love beyond. When you press me to your heart, I'm in a world apart.
Okay, shall we start the next one?
And when
So this one, you can mix the pen as well as a fine brush. One word of caution is when you're working with waterproof inks and you're going to use a paintbrush for that, remember to always wet the brush before you start painting. If you dip a dry brush into a non water soluble paint, like even acrylic or some thicker inks, that ink can go right into the brush because dry brush is very absorbent, and then it dries up over there and you lose the tip of your fine brushes. So always wet them thoroughly and then dip only till half the hairs. Don't dip the whole brush into your paint. Don't let it dry. Wipe your brushes, wash your brushes thoroughly by pressing them over here and then wipe them clean. And always start with a wet brush. Okay, so I'm going to make this a very textural picture and we're going to make it pretty big over here, maybe over here, just to change the composition a little bit. Since it's a black and white image, we can focus more on the texture. By now you'd be very familiar with making textures like these. Now, in case there are these shapes that you can't visualize on paper, there's no harm in drawing these shapes like this, but you can avoid drawing the whole line. Only draw the place where you are uncertain about a particular proportion. Now, when it comes to the eye, I know that it's a little bit of a challenge. So, either make that last after you are satisfied with everything else, or for this part, I don't mind if you want to use pencil because I'm very attached to drawing eyes properly and I absolutely hate it and can lose sleep over eyes not turning very good. So just the eye, if you want to figure out where exactly to place the pupil, if you want to use a pencil for that, it's fine. But don't use an eraser and damage the paper there. Okay, now this is what I meant by cross hatching. In the space below the eye, make it dark by using cross hatching. So these are all experiments that we are making with our pictures to see what works. In isolation, it's very possible that this texture seems a little extreme, but in the context of the entire picture, it might just work Now, these feathers on the chin can be made just by drawing these lines using pressure. So we're not drawing the feather at all. In fact, we're just drawing the shadow. It's a very simple way of rendering, and it does the job. This is one of the best bits of ink. You can create a semblance of something and get away with so much with so little. Now there is a dark patch over here which we can do with a paintbrush. So we are going to paint with ink. Remember, we're not painting with watercolor. So now you have the opportunity to dilute the ink a little bit. Automatically gets a little less dense when we use a wet brush. And the purpose of the brush is to make brush strokes. So don't try to draw with the brush as much as just position it so that you can make simple strokes and create texture. There are some pictures in which the subject is so realistic that you cannot tell the brush strokes apart. But this is a picture that's completely opposite of that. Here we are going to position the ink in such a way that you will see the strokes, but you will appreciate the illusion of an owl. So in this dark space also, I'm applying the strokes in a radial manner so that I can create negative space for the white feathers or the grey feathers on this edge. I'm not sweeping the brush down like that because that will just ruin the texture.
Gonna put my speaker on only if you can hear the thunderstorm that suddenly started.
What? Oh my god.
Crazy. After how many days of heat where all my plants are dying, now it's thunderstorm.
Wow.
So I'm facing in a different direction, watching the
Okay. Enjoy the thunderstorm.
Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire d'être ensemble si on n'est pas ensemble? Est-ce que ça suffit de rassembler nos souvenirs?
So many of these textures of the brush that I'm making, I just press the brush down and create that texture.
Ça suffit ce temps. Je voudrais.
Now again over here, there are some feathers. In the negative space, we have to make the dark ink lines. Now don't make them too regular. Otherwise it'll start looking like a fake collar. Wherever you overlap the inks, there it is going to look like ink. So, and it's going to look patchy and it's going to look beautiful as well.
I don't set the world
I can use a little bit of dry brush here to create more feather-like textures. And on the neck, we literally just have to make a series of contour lines. The brush works beautifully there.
And with your admission that you feel the same, I'll have reached the goal line dreaming of. Believe me.
Now you can also dilute this ink to some extent. Wash the brush, wipe it, and you can use it much lighter.
I don't want to set the world on fire, honey.
Just as a gray tone.
I just want to stop. Great big thing down in your heart. You see, way down inside of it, darling, I have only one desire. And that one desire is you. No, nobody else ain't gonna do. I've lost all ambition for worldly things. I just wanna be the one you love. And with your ambition that you feel the same, I'll have reached the goal I'm dreaming of.
So at this point, if you feel you want to add more details, you can add more feathers. These feathers have very complicated coloring. So you can just indicate a few things, like we have these parallel black and white lines running through. It's up to you how far you want to take the picture. Is Zai here? Zai, would you know which owls these are? I'm pretty sure they're not the same owl.
Not actually sure. The one that we painted with colors is a barn owl, a screech owl
Okay.
that we find in our near our houses also.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, and they have this loud screech in the night.
Okay.
That's them. Yeah.
Oh, Ritika, you've sent pictures. How nice! These look beautiful.
First one was where I struggled, I could not.
But it's lovely. The lines are very nice.
That's what I could not make it, whether it's the nice line or it's just a scratchy, it's like just I have scratched everything and it doesn't look okay. So I was getting confused.
So this is maybe what I can tell you is avoid making zigzag lines. This is
Ah,
what I said right in the beginning. These same lines, if you make them one after the other, one next to the other, they don't look like scratches. I don't know what it is. In our head, we feel the zigzag is what we do when we scratch. So if we continue to do that in a drawing, it will look like maybe we've scratched something out. But here you don't see many of those. It's just over here. Look at this. This here
Yes.
you managed to just zig through, no zagging.
Mhm.
So it doesn't look like it's a mistake or it's a scratch.
Mhm. Okay.
See who?
Yes.
Oh my, Garima, looking good. Excellent. Good job. Okay, let's try one more. Now this time let's try something to free ourselves even more. There's another full face or full owl, no space. There is this shape here in which that flying owl can fit. This time it's very tiny, yeah? So let's see what we can do with it. Now remember that many artists also make just a few lines like that. This is actually what gestural art would look like. It's more the line of action. And pretty much continuous line. And the full owl, front facing owl can also be drawn here. Now for your postcards, you can make these owls. In fact, even for envelopes and all. This owl, I'll leave to you how you want to render it. You can make it full color, you can make some detail, whatever you want. So these feathers also, you can just make these triangle shapes in reverse and indicate the feathers in between. They're like bricklaying. They are set on an offset. But as you go lower, flatten it, reduce the size. Don't keep it the same. And also point those triangles in a manner that they look like they're converging towards the top. The best thing about drawing birds, animals, even reptiles with ink is that you can just make a few marks or scratches in pen to indicate their texture. That's the best bit. And even things like these, there are certain white patches on their wings. I'm not bothering to make a precise shape or a figure, just leaving like a oval shape that they might have on their feathers. Then I could color the rest and it'll still look beautiful. So this kind of drawing helps you immensely in sharpening your observation. It also helps in building your arm and finger and wrist muscles for to be able to control a line. These are pretty much the same colors as our first round. Okay, how's it going, everyone?
Good, good.
Okay, have any of you surprised yourselves?
Yeah. Yeah.
You were expecting the result to be as good as it turned out.
Yeah. It's looking good actually. This is my favorite actually, ink drawing.
Ink, na?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really enjoy it.
I don't nearly do as much as I would love to, but it's just so fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I realized this because in art also there's so many forms
Yeah.
like which you like doing. So I found that I like ink drawing the best.
How
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I enjoy it the most. So
Good, good, very good.
Travel art class, can we do one class like this? I mean, with the ink and then, we can do watercolor. So we know when we do journals, maybe we
Yeah,
can experiment with
definitely.
with the buildings because we are going to do some buildings. No?
Today, yeah. So let me see if everyone has a pen. Any pen is fine. We can use that. Good idea. So we can actually end early today if everyone is done.
yeah.
Good. Okay, so please share your pictures over here and on the group also. And please share your comments also. Like Garima, please write that you enjoyed this medium more than
Okay.
anything else. Because again, next month we are going to be doing ink, but we'll be doing lettering with ink and paints. But there will be some ink also. Then we
Okay.
have one more class next. We have two classes actually. No, just one.
One more class. Yeah.
February. So yeah, only 22nd, right? Yeah, correct. Okay, so we will be doing doodle art in the next class because there is generally a demand. I tend to not do it as much, but just for my company's sake, we will do doodle art next week. So we can use dip pens also, but we will use definitely use micron pens. But if you don't want to and just work with dip pens or even a ballpoint pen or even an ink pen, any pen is fine. Okay, all right. Okay,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Have a nice weekend.
Same to
Thank
you. Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.
Shivani, enjoy your thunderstorm.
Ah, Shivani.
I'm going to dance in the rain.
Okay.
Waiting to leave on dance.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.